welcome back to my channel, and today my topic is about life on Earth. There are so many organisms around us, like we may see dogs, cats, and there are so many other types of animals. They can be found in many different places, such as oceans, seas, lakes, the sky, or on the land. And most of our animals are in the deep sea because 70% is all covered with oceans in our world. And without the sun, we wouldn't be able to live because all living things need the sun to survive. And organisms can be divided into different classes, and scientists call the organism separation classification. Classification is where the animal goes and which category that it is inside. And what is the similarities with all animals on Earth? Animals and plants have something all similar to Earth. They all live on the same planet, which is a similarity. But you may think, oh, they're so different, because if you see a plant and a tiger, you would definitely think that's really different. But their similarity is that they all need energy. They all need food, and they have excrete, which means their waste or poop. And poop is something that they have to do because they have to release it in order to take in more and more food. And food is what gives you your energy. Have you ever walked a long time without eating? You ever feel like very, very weak because you have had no food yet? This gives you all the energy. But if you have no food, you will feel really tired and you probably cannot survive without it. But also, plants and animals survive on Earth because Earth keeps on spinning and spinning 24/7. And Earth, if it did not spin, our gravity would not be there, and the magnetic field would not be there either. Our magnetic field protects us from the sun's dangerous rays. Because it orbits and takes 24 hours, we have day and nighttime. But on life on Earth, if we did not have the sun, then we would probably just die because all of the plants are produced by the sun, and it would be a lot cold if we did not have the sun to help us. And when the Earth spins around and orbits the sun, it faces into different directions. So when it faces into different directions, there are different phases. And some animals which are nocturnal may go out during the night, while some life on Earth goes out during the day. And this is majority. But some go out during the night because they want to have prey when they're sleeping. But it's very interesting how without Earth spinning, then it will have very extreme seasons. Imagine the tide waves going all the way up, because if we didn't have the gravity to keep the tides down, they would raise all the way up. And what about life cycles? A lot of teachers do a life cycle experiment, which means they keep a plant or they keep an animal inside a place so they could see it evolve. Like saw caterpillars eat and eat and eat until they become bigger and bigger. And then they coil themselves into a cocoon. A cocoon is when they produce themselves into a butterfly. This is a life cycle. And we have been learning about life cycles in class, and we're doing a life cycle of a plant, and we're experimenting where is a good environment. And my plant has no sunlight, which means it will probably not produce into its final plant structure because it doesn't have enough growth development able to use. And finally, when it dies, it brings off its offspring. So right here is a seed that germinates into a tiny sprout. It breaks open and leaves appear. After the leaves, there's the stem, and the stem grows even more leaves. Finally, there's the flower with reproduction. And after that, it just dies and it won't come back. But which organisms can live the longest? So think about it. guess how long the longest living animal or plant is. And this is actually a very, very long age. For us, we live until 100 years old. And for elephants, they probably live like 70 years old, which is a pretty long time for a mammal or even an animal. Because if you had a dog, they probably die like pretty fast, like about 10 to 20 years they die. But if we are counting plants are very, very long growth ages, well as turtles or tortoises, their age group is 150 years or even longer because their life is so slow that their heart is like very, very slow, and it's probably like the rate of 9 as it's beating, so it has a longer life. But if a hummingbird, it flaps its wings so fast, it just has a shorter life instead. But plants are even crazier. Some plants die on the first year or in a couple of years. But one of the plants or type of shrub can grow up to 4,900 years old. Imagine being that old. This is very long because 1 year is just long enough, but 4,900 years old is very long. But I'm not done yet. Another plant can live up to 2 times the age. It could live up from 11,000 to 12,000 years old. That's really long. It's probably because of its adapted habitat and also where it is living inside. But what is classification? Classification is something important that we use to identify different animals. We use stuff like kingdom, phylum, class, species to identify which animals are which. It's kind of like giving details and getting closer and closer. The first is the type of kingdom. The kingdom is not specific at all. It just says like animals or plants. This is the kingdom. After that is the phylum. The phylum is kind of like the family, or if it has like a vertebrate or if it has a neck bone, and we get closer and closer. Like in the middle, you probably have the order. The order is like what type of animal it is. And finally, the genus, and the genus is specifically what type. But the species is the most specific because the species brings all of the information together. So the order of the classification is very important. So think of a whole web. The web on the top is the most smallest because it's not as specific, so it includes so many things inside this part. But on the bottom, there's so many things because it becomes more and more specific that there's more and more animals inside the bottom. But the classification has 5 kingdoms of living things. The first one is animals. Animals are the first kingdom of living things because, for example, like lions, we see these a lot. But after that is the second most we see, which is the plants. We see plants a lot, and it is included as the second kingdom. And the third is like fungus or a decomposer. A decomposer is a type of fungi. And have you ever seen like moldy bread rot? Like if you bring out a piece of moldy bread and you touch it a lot of times, like a clean piece of bread, and everyone touches it, it will grow mold in like the first or second day. And this is really quick. But this is because of the decomposers that rot away as the fungi in the mold. But the final one, second to final, is the protist. The protist is a type of single-celled organism, or it's called a protozoa. In the fifth kingdom is finally the monorain, or it's a type of bacteria. Bacteria is the fifth kingdom of living things. And we know as classification, we get more and more specific. And classification is really important if we want to identify different types of animals and what they do and what types are they. But every animal goes through a life cycle, and they're all related into some way that we are tied into life. Thank you for listening. I hope you like and subscribe to my channel.